to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Cameron Show here. Now then, when we last left off, they were 3 months into the 10 months of training. Now, after this, they were, let's say that one day they were actually trying to figure things out. Intelli has actually gotten leaps and bounds of their quirk, as she has been able to drink this special mix Deku has. Now, I actually do have the list of teas, I just have it on my other phone. I'm gonna get that list. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that list and actually refine them, because it took a lot of time to actually get those. That's annoying. Now then, after that, let's say that she's actually working on a new little gadget, and she's actually having quite a bit of fun with it. Now, she's actually messing around with the idea of the gun, and this is when it would go off as Deku walks into the room. She is immediately telling Deku to dodge, or to get out of the way, as Deku grabs the grenade and actually clicks the button down. As he just says that it's going to be quite alright, as he's holding it down, he would walk over to the window and immediately just throw it out as high into the air as possible. As the grenade would go off, and the knockout gas would be deployed. He's just telling her that if she's going to work on something, make sure it's not loaded. She would just say that that's okay, it's just I might be hitting the upper limits of my quirk. What do you mean? I've been thinking about the same question for 3 hours and I've come to 72 different answers. Okay, well then. I guess I should gather you and Miss Momo. As Deku walks into the gym, he sees Momo just working out and basically benching weight. She's been benching about 180 to 190, and Deku saw her doing this 10 minutes ago. He would walk over, tap on her shoulder or try and get her attention, and she would set the weight down, taking out her headphones, asking what's going on and if anything's essentially happening. Deku would just say that there is something happening and he knows exactly what's going on, as he would say that they are going to be taking a day off. So, what does that mean? Well, you basically almost knocked me out with that gas by accident. Plus, like you did say, you're hitting your upper limits. Now, that is a good thing, yes, but it is also a bad thing for both of you. As Sebastian would walk in, he would just say that, well, you do know, you are still a child, Midoriya. You should take off a day off also. As Deku immediately just freezes. This is when Momo and Intelli would both say, well, you know, he is right, Midoriya. He is a butler. In fact, he does know what's best. Not only as your dad, but as a fellow butler. Deku's just thinking, no, as they keep saying that if they're taking a day off, then so is he. As they are basically doing that, Deku, he essentially gets dragged into them, basically having a movie day. Now then, they basically watch a bunch of old movies and a bunch of cool ones. And let's say that they watch like James Bond style movies and stuff like that, along with a bunch of spy movies. And they actually are seeing some of the ways that the female spies move. Deku would just explain that that's actually acrobatics, along with the fact that they're using the firearms, and they're actually using small weight ones, along with the fact that they are chambered in smaller calibers. Now, this is actually really intriguing as Intelli's is thinking that that is actually a very good way to work out, but it's also a very good way to move. It's basically just, it's a good way to work out and also make sure to actually be able to maneuver around your opponent. So she's just thinking that she can base her fighting style somewhat off of this. Momo's thinking that this is actually a good idea, but with her quirk, she can try doing something different. But just what? She's thinking that she could, but using the firearms is a bad idea. In fact, just using the fake bullets, even then, she might hit something wrong or do all that, as she's still freaking out about that in her head. Deku, he's taking a day off, and they actually did take the gloves away from him, which you could see makes him visibly upset. Now then, Deku's holding in his internal screaming, and this is whenever we will time jump once again. They are all working out, and Momo and Intelli are actually taking a run, as Deku and Sebastian are actually sparring. Intelli's actually running around, basically trying to think about different things for her gadgets. Along with that, Momo convinced her into doing weight training, because even then, Momo would still encourage you to get stronger. Intelli basically has weights on her ankles, parts of her legs, and along with wristbands. Basically like Goku's. As the trees are being broken through, and Sebastian's actually taking Deku a bit more seriously. Deku and Sebastian are actually fighting, and they are actually at the point where Deku is actually able to hold his own against him for probably about a minute. Which, that does not sound like a lot, but considering the fact that you basically are moving at around 95 miles an hour and have superhuman reflexes, a minute is probably like 5 or 10 to a human. And that's basically being able to match a literal demon. Now, afterward, Deku, he's actually just thinking more about this, along with the fact that they would eventually have to take a break, as Deku would heal back up. Sebastian would actually give him some pointers and tips, as he also does say that he should do these things along with not do these things. Basically working on form, stature, and agility, while also trying to mix up power and speed. Basically, if you need to change something or go for better defense, go for speed for your next attack. And if you're not going for speed, you better be going for damage. Basically teach him about aiming for different vital points, along with the fact that if he's not going to aim for them, he should at least aim for the non-vital areas. And he would actually show him a neck chop, along with other moves. Now then, this is when, after some time, they would eventually get to the point where Momo and Intelli are actually somewhat sparring with one another, and they're basically doing basic stuff. Deku actually does want to see his own master get stronger, so he would actually ask Sebastian if he can help train Momo. Sebastian's confused, saying that doesn't he want to see his own master prosper, and Deku would just say that he does. He will be training Intelli. In fact, he does want to teach her some other things, but Momo's physically stronger, he can already tell. Plus, with her quirk, it's a bit more versatile. I don't want her to think that I'm essentially favoring my own master, because that is not what the butler does. But I cannot simply focus on two at the same time. Sebastian, he hears this from Deku, and he immediately somewhat scowls, saying that if he cannot focus on two at one time, then he is not a proper butler. The butler should be able to focus on the many, not the few. As Sebastian would actually say to Momo and Intelli while they are sparring that they are not going to be fighting one another right now. In fact, they have a new enemy. they are both going to be fighting and sparring against Deku. Hearing this, both of them nearly go into cardiac arrest as they just say Deku is going to have a bit of a handicap. He is going to be blindfolded during the battle. Now, while he is blindfolded, he also cannot use his hands and or feet to actually kick. He can use his knees. That is about it. Momo hearing this thinks Sebastian's going a bit too far on this, but this is what Intelli would just say, so does that give them a fighting chance, or... Sebastian would just say that it should, but also, once again, please take off your weights and actually remove the sand from them. I made the mistake last time when cleaning them out that sand was all over the dryer and the washer. So please remove them first, before putting them in the wash. Oh, sorry Sebastian. I do like cleaning things, but not when it's so inconsiderate. Or, no, Sebastian would probably just say that he does like cleaning the things, but it's just that when it becomes such a hassle, that's when it gets annoying. Now then, Sebastian would say this, or he at least mutters it to himself, and Deku is the only one who heard it. As he actually just puts a blindfold on and ties his hands behind his back. Momo would basically Momo wouldn't believe that Deku wouldn't use his hands, so she would quite literally get 3 pairs of handcuffs and handcuff Deku, and then Deku would be facing off against them. They're not wearing shoes or gloves because they're actually somewhat trying to work on these acrobatics, along with this taekwondo and other things they saw in those movies. Now then, Deku is actually facing off, and this is whenever they both rush him. Deku would immediately come to bring up his left leg, but as he realizes that he's only supposed to use his knees, he immediately just stops as Momo kicks him not kicks him, but she actually hits him in the face, or in the chest. And Telly would actually punch him in the ribs, actually hurting her hand. As this happens, they would both somewhat move backwards, saying that it's like punching a tire, or punching a wall. Jesus. Deku would just say that it is quite sorry, but a butler is supposed to be sturdy. If he is not, then that does not truly mean he is a butler. I thought you were supposed to be my shadow. Well, I can be both, ma'am. And Telly... I can be both in Telly. As Deku, he actually somewhat goes offensive. He's just listening for their movements because their footing is very heavy and is actually just they're basically stomping on the ground. Along with the fact that you can hear them basically making the or basically the sound whenever you go to throw a punch, and you're trying not to let your breath seep out. Now then, Deku, he basically would actually be able to hold them off, but the fact is that he basically has to defend with his knees and bring them up, would eventually kind of annoy him to the point where he wears himself out. If not, he'd at least get damaged, because the fact was, Momo would just start creating different types of weapons, like a bow staff, along with the fact that she would actually offer one to Intelli. Or she'd at least offer she'd offer some forms of weapons to her, but this would basically be a form of training they would do over the next... Yeah, let's say that they do this training for the remainder of the 7 months. And it would get to the point where one day Sebastian walks in, and he actually sees that Deku, he is quite literally just holding his hands behind his back, as he's actually dodging or deflecting different moves with his knees. Now then, Intelli has actually come up with quite a lot of gadgets, along with Momo actually improving her quirk somewhat, but also, they would have to actually... Oh, that did not go well. For me, I burped. They would also actually come to the point where All Might would just say that they are going to be having a bit of a different day. Sebastian would basically lead All Might in, as All Might would watch as these 3 are all fighting and actually doing this type of training. He would actually ask if that's even helpful to Deku, and Sebastian would go on saying that it is actually quite impressive. When he first started Deku off, Deku's superior reflexes, they were only part of his eyesight. Now it seems like he does not need it to actually be versatile. Along with Momo and Intelli, he has seen quite a lot of improvement from those two in the last couple months. As All Might basically looks closer, he actually sees that they have actually been working very, very hard. Now, this is whenever Deku, he would hear All Might, and at this point, he just immediately turns his head as he actually gets smacked in the face by Intelli, because she was already coming into attack. She would immediately just come down and actually try and help Deku up, but Deku would just take off the thing and turn his head, seeing All Might. They would immediately look up and see him, as he would just tell them that it is about time, so this is going to be their final test. They are going to be... I want to say that I should give... I'm still on the fence about giving one of you one for all. I do believe Deku would be the superior candidate, but he does not want the quirk. And I can see that through training, you two have also been doing leaps and bounds. Ah yes, well, they have been working themselves very hard since that one day. Really? Have you two ever had a proper day off? Ah yes, well, I do instruct them to take proper days off, but their next one was supposed to be... They were supposed to take the next couple days off for the actual entrance exam. Really? Well, yes, they've been putting in a lot of effort and a lot of time, All Might. Okay. Well then, I guess... I guess you two should fight about... How many days do we have before then? As... Ugh. Ah, that was weird. I felt all of those at the same time, and I did not know which one to react to first. Now then, All Might would just... Sebastian would just pull out his little planner, and he would just say that they have exactly 1 week before the entrance exam. So, as All Might would just say, well then, this should be proper then. You guys are already set up on a mat, so... Ooh. Let's see. He would immediately just say that they can use their quirks. He is aware of Intelli's gadgets, but her quirk is basically super intelligence. Now then, you two may begin. Now then, All Might would go on saying that if they have been working themselves really hard this last couple months, then he does believe they will be taking the rest of the week off. I will give you today and tomorrow to essentially recuperate, but afterwards you two will fight and actually see who will get my quirk. All going through a little physical test. Now, after that, this would all happen, and Deku is still doing what he can, but Intelli is very nervous. Actually asking Deku quite a bit of questions, and asking how far he thinks that she's come. He would just go on saying that the fact that she essentially can catch him off guard, or at least hit him, it's basically very impressive, because he also has improved. Now, this is going to be the day of the fight, along with their little physical test. They would be doing different types of things. They would do the 50-meter dash, but they aren't using their quirks. They're basically seeing who is better at what without their quirks. Intelli would be better in speed by 2 to 3 seconds, but Momo, she'd be able to lift 20 to 30 more pounds of weight, since Intelli is basically more of a speed person. She would work off quick attacks and actually focusing for vital points. Now, with that, let us cut to different tests, other things like that. I'm not sure what they should do aside from the whole how fast can you run, how fast can you long jump, and other things like that to that nature. But they would come to an actual combat test where they are supposed to fight one another. They would essentially set up a hostage situation where Sebastian would be the hostage and Momo would actually be the villain. Along with, they basically have to. Hmm. Actually, no, I want to say it would be one of those things from a spy movie. Deku would be the villain, and he actually essentially needs to. Actually, no, that doesn't work at all. I was gonna say Deku would be the villain, and they both have to try and capture All Might first, but that basically means that they're racing for it. Momo would be the villain, and Telly would actually be the hero. She would be told that she can use her support gear, but this is going to be a bit of a whole. It's going to be a shit show, basically. Now, Natalie would have immediately just drinking the special mix that Deku made for her, and she is actually thinking about how to enter the room, if not how to breach it. While Momo is actually thinking about how to defend it. She's thinking that if she comes up from the next. Essentially, comes down from the roof of the manor, or basically breaks through the window, she can immediately just tag the hostage and get him. But as she would open the window, she would see that, whenever she looks down, that the window is completely blocked out. Basically, there's something in front of it now. Along with thinking that if she can just breach and enter, that would be the best tactic, since Momo wouldn't expect her to destroy the roof of that room. Now, she continues thinking on this, going straight through the front door and fighting her directly, but she can just make different gadgets or different styles of weapons. So, the fact is, she would just come to the fact that she'll just spray the entire area, and as soon as she sees Momo or does any of that, she'll just try throwing sticky grenades. She would immediately just breach and clear the room. The roof would explode, surprising All Might, thinking this is an actual villain attack. Whereas she would jump down, she immediately throws a sticky grenade, and Momo would just create a shield. Basically, just slamming into the grenade, and as it starts essentially, as the foam starts covering the shield, she would immediately just try throwing it back at Intelli. As she did this, these two would immediately just start facing off. Intelli's thinking of different tactics, while Momo's thinking about different things to create. As she immediately starts creating a baton or not a sword. As she immediately starts creating a staff, that's the name of it. Intelli immediately just thinks, okay then, as she immediately just immediately just throws her hand forward, throwing a bolos grenade at her. As this thing essentially pops off, it wraps around Momo, and she would just say that that's it, she's won. As Momo would say no, she hasn't. She'd create that giant thing around, stretching the bolos and actually slipping out of it. As she immediately just rushes Intelli, and Intelli would be able to dodge and actually maneuver around with speed. Deku did teach her a bit of combat training, but that combat training was also taught to Momo. So these two would basically get into fisticuffs and start punching and actually fighting with one another. As that is going on, Deku would just try and offer All Might tea as he is watching them fight. All Might would actually take a cup, and he is actually somewhat interested in who would win. He would just say that he's very certain Momo might win. She is physically stronger. Well, Intelli might actually win. She's physically faster, but I also did have a hand in actually helping her throughout the years. Oh, really? How long have you known her? I believe we're coming up on. Not 10, but more around 8. You've known that girl for 8 years? Well, yes. It's a long story. As we would cut back to Momo and Intelli actually fighting. Momo would actually be throwing a lot of different punches, and she's actually trying to knock her out by punching her in the ribs or at least trying to actually knock her down on the ground. If not, at least create a pair of handcuffs and actually just capture her. But this is whenever Intelli she would see the handcuffs, and she would immediately just flip her wrist and actually just grab the handcuffs, throwing it back onto Momo's wrist, basically just making it look like an accessory. Now then, afterwards, this is whenever Intelli she immediately just breaks away, telling Momo that she's not going to win because as she would just sit, Momo just says, "Are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure I have you right where I want you," as she holds up 5 different pins. Intelli immediately goes to look at her belt, but she just thinks that those aren't her pins, as Momo actually comes in, socking her in the side of the face, knocking her to the ground and actually just saying, "Well, of course they're not. I made them." Now, listen, I know that was cheap, but the only way I'm going to win is by thinking a little bit more tricky than your quirk. My quirk, yes, it is nice and good, but if I just go for direct assault or just make casual weapons, it's all about me being a little bit more tricky. As Intelli's trying to get back up, she just says that she's not done yet, as this is whenever Momo, she would just walk over, grab Intelli, and immediately just throw her against the wall, actually just not messing with her, but actually fighting. Intelli would actually punch her in the face as Momo punches her back. This would go on for quite some time, but eventually, whenever these two are at their wits' end, Momo, she would immediately she would create a shield and actually punch her across the face with it. Now, Momo would be declared the winner, but Intelli would actually need to receive medical help, because both these two just beat each other to a pulp. All Might would just call Recovery Girl after being untied, and he would actually congratulate both of them, but he would just tell Momo that trickery is the best form against a hero, so that actually was very clever. But Intelli, you should redesign your grenades if the opponent can at least grab them. Because if you just leave them dangling, then that means someone can just pull the pin and you could be done for as well. Undone by your own gadget. It sounds familiar. Cut to Spider-Man 2 and the Green Goblin. Impales himself. Anyways, this is whenever All Might would offer Intelli one for all. Now then, that is where I'm going to be leaving things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys later.